Hello, my name is Orla. Welcome to my channel. In this channel I read short stories for children and adults who are interested. In this video I'll be reading a story from Ulster Fairytales and Legends, a book by Nicola and Peter Heaney, illustrated by Conor Busuttil. And the story I'm going to read in this one is called The Great Black Pig. So get cozy, cuddle down, and let's begin. The Great Black Pig. Long ago, before the time of the great Cuchulainn, there was a school on the Cavan Leitrim border. The teacher was called Master Don. He was a small, crooked, cruel man. The Cavan boys were the youngest in the class. They were bullied by the bigger Leitrim boys. Master Don encouraged the bullies. He was a bully too. Every Friday the children came home tired, with their clothes dirty and torn. When asked what they had been doing, they would say, "Och, sure, it was only running and jumping." Their teachers saw no harm in running, or their parents saw no harm in running and jumping. That is, until that final Friday in June, the day when the Great Black Pig appeared. That morning the class was quiet. The boys were looking forward to the end of term. There would be no more running or jumping for 8 weeks. If Fergal's plan worked, there would be no more running and jumping ever again. Fergal had lost the seat of his trousers to the fangs of Don's hounds. Now he would teach Master Don a lesson he would never forget. Sitting very still and silent, the boys waited. They heard the master's heavy steps approaching. His cruel eyes flickered across the class and fell on Conall, a gentle boy who was small for his age. "Ah, Master Conall," he said, "I believe it is your turn to provide the sport for us today. Am I correct?" Before Conall could answer, the master pulled a twisted twig from his jacket. Then he muttered a dark spell and waved the twig at Conall. As Don's evil spell fizzled around him, Conall's thigh muscles swelled with power. His thigh bone grew longer. It pulled the bottom of his trousers legs up almost to his knees. Then he dropped on all fours and ran to the door. He was now a large hare. So Master Don, the cruel teacher, had turned Conall into a hare. As Conall skidded through the door, the master hissed a second spell. Hearing the barking and baying of hounds, Conall bounded across the playground. He jumped the school wall into the fields. It took all his skill to stay ahead of the snapping jaws and vicious fangs of the pack. He ducked through hedges, jumped across ditches, and dived into bushes. His trousers were in tatters when he arrived back in the classroom, but he had survived in one piece. The Leitrim pack tumbled through the door after him, still snarling and snapping. Don waved his twigs to change them all back to their own shape. That's Conall. And Master Don had turned the Leitrim boys into these hounds to chase Conall. It's not fair. But anyway, let's see what happens. When the master's wild laughing had calmed, Fergal asked, "Master, is it only children you can change?" "I can shape change whoever I want," Master Don snarled. "Could you change yourself?" "Of course," snorted Don. "Will I change into a mighty lion? Or an eagle?" "I've heard that one of the hardest creatures to change into is a pig," Fergal said. "A black pig." Don eyed him darkly. Then he pulled a twig from his jacket and waved it over his own head, muttering. At once he dropped to the floor. His hands and feet were trotters. His back and belly shook like a jelly as he grunted. Black hair sprouted around his evil snout. Look, he's changing into a pig. When Don dropped his twig, Fergal seized it. He snapped it into two in front of his eyes. Then he threw it into the fire. The stove bulged as it swallowed the twig with a great roar. A huge belch of coloured sparks thundered from the chimney. The fire ate the twig and scattered its magic across the roof and into the air. Wow. That's the twig burning in the fire. Gone forever. Don's eyes filled with horror. He knew that they had fooled him. He was trapped inside the black pig. Howling with rage, he charged around the room. He knocked all the desks and chairs over. Oh, and look at him. He's a pig. And you can't turn back. As he bolted through the door, the Cavan boys' cheers rang in Don's ears. His Leitrim gang stumbled after him. They tried to help but only got in his way and made him even more angry. For weeks he charged through the countryside from dusk till dawn. He rooted up huge trenches and ramparts with his great bristled snout. When at last he reached the coast, he was never heard from again. To this day, you can see the trenches and ramparts he dug up across Cavan and Leitrim, and if you listen closely, you might just hear the echoes of Master Don's evil squeals. Haha! So well done to Fergal and the Cavan boys. The end. That was a story from Ulster Fairytales and Legends. That was a good one. Till the next one. Bye bye.